On this episode of the Truck Show podcast, Lightning and Holman will be speaking with Sheldon Brown, Chief Engineer of the Toyota Tacoma.
Talk about us in the third person?
That was weird.
Why? What's wrong with you? No, we're talking to them.
I think because I was playing the part of the announcer. Lightning and Holman will be checking in with
Then
Sheldon
that should be Miles, our producer, not you.
Oh, okay.
That's really odd. Holman says, listen to the show. I don't know what to tell you.
No, well, let's just move on. Oh, wait, I can make you happy. I can repair this.
I doubt that, but okay.
I'll bet you.
All right, go for it.
Shake my hand. $1 says I can repair
I don't know where
this.
that hand's been. It's been,
All right,
well,
fist
that's
bump.
not true. It's been all over a chili dog.
Fist bump me.
Okay,
All right,
go.
yeah, I did have a chili dog before this. So I'm going to give you a gift. So I was doing some shopping online, and I came across this, and I thought, this is my man Holman right here. All right?
He's opening a cardboard box.
Yes,
that
a cardboard box.
He's pulling
hold on, let me pull out the
something
foam.
out of this.
Hang tight. Just move.
No idea
I
what.
have to move the foam
It's
out
fighting
of the
with
way.
a box.
Here we go. Now I got it. Okay, here we go. This is yours. Big box. It's about the size of a shoebox.
All right. It says Ben Shot on it. I'd rather not.
Yep.
Be
No, just
shot.
take it. Check it out.
Handmade in the USA.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. It's got coasters on it. All right.
He's digging in the foam.
Oh, I've seen these. These are cool. So they're whiskey or bourbon glasses that have, this looks like an embedded 45 in it. Is that correct?
So one is a 308 and one is a
I
45
see
cal.
the 308 over here.
So what this is these are
That is
glasses
super cool.
handmade by a father and son team. I believe they're in Wisconsin.
Now, when you say handmade, they're essentially just shooting things.
no, it would break. These are
They're heated- they're
hand-blown
heated, yeah.
glasses, right?
awesome.
And they take a bullet or in the case maybe a 10 millimeter socket, and they push them in when these are
Molten hot.
Yep.
Yep.
And so you have a bullet in each one of those.
That's
and
awesome.
you are a firearms enthusiast.
That's true.
And it looked like this would be I'm hoping you don't have a set of these, right?
I do not have a set of these.
I love the fact that these guys are making this stuff in the USA. It's just really neat quality stuff.
It's awesome.
So again, these are two tumblers, one with a bullet is piercing almost halfway through the glass.
The best part about it is I can tell people that I did that.
It would shatter if you tried to do it.
Well,
I know
thank
it's
you.
not Christmas or your birthday or whatever. I just saw this and I thought, it's like I'm a sucker for some Instagram ads, and
I gotta
saw
admit,
these.
You know what I do on Instagram with Instagram ads? Because I'm the same way. It figures out what they think you want. After a while, it starts serving you 45 different things of the same thing,
Yep.
or things in the same realm. So what I do is you can open it outside of Instagram.
I do that every time.
Yeah, open an external browser, and I save it for later, so that when I'm bored, I go back through those.
Hold on, that is how I bought these for you
Is that
in
they
my
were in
external
a-
browser through Safari later, and I thought
Yeah.
I got to get these from my man Holman.
Oh, I appreciate that. Those are awesome. In fact, do you mind if I partake with the glass here?
Please do.
So-
Please do. I have not touched them, so they're clean.
This is my latest scan.
That's the 308, I believe, right? Or is
That's
that the
the
45? 45?
Yep.
That shows how much I know about bullets.
So let's see. What do we got here? Oh, some Angel's Envy finished rye.
Okay.
So this is the Caribbean rum cask finished Angel's Envy.
All right.
I'm a big rye guy. I like my rye. There you go. I love the way that sounds when you pop the. And we'll give myself a little pour here, and I will partake and enjoy this while we're doing the show. So thank
All
you,
right.
lady.
Is that how you drink?
No, but I just wanted
So they can hear it?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to hear it if I drank normal.
All right, we want to thank Nissan. If you guys are looking for an amazing truck, look no further than the Nissan Titan or the Frontier. I had some seat time in the Frontier that Holman's had for the last couple months, and I got to tell you, it's awesome. If you heard I think it was on the last episode or two ago, we went into great detail about how much I really was impressed with the zero-gravity seats, the Utilitrack in the bed, the ride, the handling, its off-road prowess. I think the Frontier is one of the most underrated, amazing trucks on the market. So do yourself a favor. If you're looking for a mid-size or full-size truck, go to your Nissan dealer or hit up nissanusa.com to build and price yours.
So speaking of the Frontier, the reason you were borrowing it is because you took it to the Banks R&D Center where you were making sure you had the right PIDs.
We were fingerprinting it, as Gail says.
Reverse safety.
Yes.
And so that brings me to the Pedal Monster, which is a patented pedal device that plugs into your OBD2 port. It offers active safety. It knows when you're in reverse, so it doesn't apply any of the trim modifications to your pedals so that you have smooth backing up, just like you do stock. And it fits, what do you have, hundreds of applications, cars, trucks, supercars, everything,
Most
right?
of the majors, and we're adding more all the time. So the most recently added was the Tundra and Tacoma, which have already become wildly popular.
And how would I find out if the Pedal Monster has an application for the vehicle that I drive right now?
Super easy. You go to bankspower.com, you type in your year, make, and model.
And I also love that it's compatible with the iDash, where you can make the changes right there on your iDash screen or through the Banks app, which you can do it on your phone, which is super rad. All you got to do is head over to bankspower.com.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
That rye is making your voice a little scratchy. Is
Oh, no, it's clearing everything out.
that what it's doing?
Yeah, it's funny.
It's clearing the nasal passages?
I still haven't gotten the vid officially anyway. I'm sure I've had it, but my daughter's like, Dad, you don't get sick, and I hate to tell her it's whiskey and cigars. I really hate to.
It just kills everything?
Yeah, it just kills everything.
It's like Lysol.
I mean, you've had it sitting across the table from me.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
in a 10 by 12 shed, and I'm still vertical.
You are impervious.
Still living to see another day.
You eat the worst, you drink the worst, but you're not getting the vid. It's got to be that potion you're drinking.
You know what? Oh, I love this stuff.
Liquid gold right there.
That's right. It's liquid nutrition.
Speaking of nutrition, why don't we fortify our brains talking about Tacoma?
All right, well, why don't you give our man Sheldon Brown a call, chief engineer for the Toyota Tacoma, who is making a second appearance on the Truck Show podcast.
Hello.
Sheldon Brown, Lightning Holman, Truck Show podcast. How you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. How are you?
We realized that the last time you were on the Truck Show podcast was, I think, episode 19. And we are on like episode 327 or 8 or something like that.
He was a newbie.
Yeah, we were newbies.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That too.
So it's
I
been a
agree.
while.
It must have been like 2019, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been 2019. I mean, we've gone through a whole global pandemic since that time.
Well, you know what? It was so long, Toyota came out with a new truck, which is what we're going to talk about.
Thank you. Good night. Tip your waitress. All right, we got a quick intro to play. Don't move, Sheldon.
It's the inside job, baby. Yes, it is. It's the inside job now. It's the inside job, baby. It's time for you to share what you do.
It's the inside job. So, Sheldon, have you been part of a product launch that has been this anticipated? The 2024 Tacoma, in all the variants, it's out of control. Like in the truck world, it's the biggest thing going.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. But then I have to tell you, it's an incredible honor and a privilege to work on this project. You know, it's not often that you get a chance to redesign something as iconic as the Toyota Tacoma, and you get to do it from on the ground up. So when we took on this project, we knew there was a lot of pressure on the team to make sure that we got it right. So we took it very seriously, but we are super excited to introduce it to the world. And just recently having it go on sale in our gasoline, our iForce models, we just can't wait to get it to customers and get it in their hands.
I want to know how wide the net was or how long the leash was, because Tacoma, the last real body in white in redesign was back in 2005. And despite being an older platform, and of course it's had many upgrades, the interior, the engine, transmissions, styling, but it continued to dominate the midsize truck segment. And you could probably have this truck another 5 years, and it would probably still dominate off of the good news and reputation, and everybody has to have a Tacoma. But you have a thoroughly modern truck that is incredibly well optioned. You have extra trim levels. You've gone after the enthusiast. You've got a fully boxed frame and rear disc brakes and a lot of things that the market was clamoring for. Obviously, your competition has almost completely rolled over as well. It's going to be a dogfight. How much leash did you have from corporate to make the truck that you are now delivering to dealers today?
Great question. And, honestly, when we took a look at it, we knew that it was time for the TNGF platform to make an appearance. And specifically, we talk about TNGF. That's the next generation architecture, and F platform was the last of our platforms to do it. So it's been a long time coming. But you know what? We started with a plan, and it was going to be across our brothers. So started with Tundra, Sequoia, and then obviously to Tacoma. But the thing we knew about Tacoma more so than anything else was we do well 19 years in a row as the segment, the volume segment leader. And, as you said, we recognized that there's going to be a lot of competition, and we saw a lot of new entries coming back into the segment, and we knew everybody, we had the bullseye on our back. And so when we thought about it, we knew that we had to take Tacoma to a special place.
So I want to just point out full year 2023 midsize truck sales. At the top of that list is Toyota Tacoma with 234,768 vehicles sold.
Isn't it more than it's 3 times the next closest?
It's 44.6% of market share. So the rest of that market share is spread amongst the GM, Nissan Frontier, Gladiator, Ridgeline, Ranger. And the majority of the products, actually all of the products had, with the exception of Honda Ridgeline, had a loss of 20% or more in year-over-year sales. Tacoma was only 1.1%. It ends up being 3,000 units or something like that. To have that kind of domination as other manufacturers are rolling out their redesigned models, and that segment is getting super hot and heavy now. I think the demand for capability is greater than ever in what people are looking for, both on the luxury side. I know GMC has the Canyon Denali that they've had on the luxurious side. You've got Ranger Raptor coming out. You've got the Bison from GMC. You've all sorts of, obviously, Jeep Gladiators in there. One of the things that I noticed is you actually added additional trim to the trim walk for the new model to represent a wider swath. You guys have a luxury trim. You guys have a overlanding trim. You guys have a performance trim. You've got the work truck trim and the regular middle of the road trim, but you have it all. And I would assume that's because the market is demanding so much more now from that segment.
So before he answers, real quick here. So you've got the SR, the SR5, the TRD Pre-Runner, the TRD Sport, TRD Off-Road, the Limited, TRD Pro, and the Trail Runner.
Trail Hunter,
thank you.
How do you, I get it from the company standpoint for having all these trims, but how do you make it less confusing for the consumer to understand which trim is in line with what their needs are?
Yeah, no, thanks. And that's a great question. And by the way, expertly done in terms of running through all of the different grades, because as we mentioned, there are quite a few of them. So we break it down pretty simply. We had when we looked at this product, you have to think about the compact segment. We actually have a pretty wide range of customer demand that we need to cover. What we think about it in the entry level, those are customers who are extremely value driven. They're looking for basic transportation. Many of those folks have said to us, "Hey, look, I'm just looking for a truck. I don't need it to be anything special. It's something. I'm happy with what we have right now, and I'm looking for obviously the next generation. But I don't need all the bells and whistles. I need basic truck transportation." And so that was really the focus of our SR5, and particularly the extra cab. Really focusing on optimizing commonality with the double cab. So that we could reduce the cost, reduce the development cost, reduce the tooling investment, so that we could pass that savings on. So our goal on the entry was to aggressively compete. So we knew that we had to bring in something that was still provided really good performance, still provided really good product appeal, but also, it was a value proposition. And then the second area we kind of think of as the core, and that's the SR5 and I'll say the TRD. So call it a sport or an ORP, really just the kind of flavor you want. And, that is where we over-index, to be perfectly honest, in the market. And our goal there was pretty simple. It was aggressively defend and advance the core. And that's where we were really going to bring some true value to our customers. And then just simply for limited, it was, okay, let's reimagine what luxury would be in the compact segment. This was for a customer who really said, hey, look, I want all the amenities of a full-size truck, but I need it to fit in my garage. So it wasn't about being, it was about being the right size truck or the right truck with the right features. And so where in the past, Limited wasn't really big for us, we really wanted to focus on taking that to the next level. But of course, you did mention our Halo. And, of course, the original gangster for us was the TRD Pro, and it still is. Yes,
by the way, hold on. We got to stop right there, Sheldon. Yeah. What engineer says the original gangster? Like that is
Sheldon Brown.
That is so badass.
Sheldon Brown for Toyota.
The way, I got to say, Sheldon, I got to stop here. So I watched like 5 or 6 videos of you and walking around with various YouTubers and stuff. You are freaking money. We need to hang out and have beers. Like, he's just the man. He's not your average engineer. He's walking around like one of the YouTubers is like he skipped over one of the interior parts, and Sheldon Buster he's like yo, don't sleep on that part. Come here. I'm like, dude, that guy is gangster right there, Sheldon.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm in my element now. I've got a face for radio, so I'm in my perfect element here. So,
well, you may have a face for radio. We have faces for podcasting, so it's even worse.
There you go. But no, the Pro, we wanted to really do the Pro the right way, and that was to make it focused on the high speed desert racing. That's where it was born out of Baja. That was the inspiration for it, and we sort of found this concept, right? Like when you're trying to make a truck that's about light and nimble, go fast. A lot of people in the market were looking at as sort of, as their go-to product for all sorts of performance. And we had really seen, and I think a lot of folks have been noticing, from like 2017 on, just this explosion in the overlanding world. And so a lot of people were taking our Pros and they were, tricking them out for overlanding and, putting on the deck racks and the tents and, loading them up with gear. And when you really want to make a product that works great at doing one thing, or doing multiple things, and you start to give up on, I'll say, the edges. So, and that was really the genesis for Trail Hunter. So we to make it simple and easy, Pro is go fast, Trail Hunters go far. Trail Hunter is all about that inspiration. It's set up for modification, for customization. We do the heavy lifting for you. We set up the suspension. We bring in all the accommodations. You can use our accessories, or if you don't like that, no problem. You could use your own. But the idea was it was more of a tactical, heavy laden sort of truck setup. So we really wanted to make sure that those had a unique character, and that was kind of the genesis. So going back to why did we have so many? Well, because we felt that there was a lot of different segments in the market that we could address, and so that was kind of how we came up with this lineup.
So I've got to admit to being what I like to call a Goverlander. So I've got a Wrangler 392, sure, and I go on 400-mile plus trips. That'll be 4, 5, 6 days. But I like to cover 100 miles in a day. So for me, I'm like, build a Tacoma, TRD Pro all day long because I've got that suspension. And then it's like, Trail Hunter comes out and you're going, well, look at that. And you've got Fox shocks on one. You've got the Old Man Emu Bilstein shocks on the other one. Both set up a little bit different. But on the Trail Hunter, you can get the longer bed on it, whereas the TRD Pro only comes with a short bed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so if you need extra gear and space, then that's the way to go. But I'm still torn. And those models haven't been released yet. And they're late availability. So they're not at your dealership yet, as some of the 24s are now trickling in. But as somebody who loves the space, I've sat where I'm looking at a Trail Hunter on the left and a TRD Pro on the right. I'm going, I still don't know, because there's aspects and features of both that appeal to me. I really love both trucks, and I'm like, So that's going to have to be a game time decision down the line of where I plant my flag.
Well, let's go through, Sheldon, if you have a second here. Let's go through starting with engine, suspension, the seats, the roof, tailgate, power export, all that stuff really quick, and just talk through some of these things since you've got inside knowledge. Yes, Holman.
I was going to say, let's he brought up the extra cab, and this is something that's really novel on the Tacoma, that most of the manufacturers in the midsize space are going to crew cab only. Tacoma says, or Toyota says with Tacoma, we're going to give you the extra cab. But it's not the extra cab that you might be used to with the jump seats in the back. There's actually no seats in the back. It's the front row, and the back is like for extra storage. Perfect for a kid going to college who's going to have a backpack in the back or something like that, or carrying your gear that you don't want in the dirty space of the truck, and you don't have seats back there. And at first I was like, well, that's kind of a curious decision, because I remember in high school crawling into my friends' extra cabs over the seat belt and the seat moved forward and getting stuck on the B pillar, and finally sandwiching myself back there with 2 other dudes, and we had 3 in the back. It was a clown car, but I'm thinking today's kids will never get that experience. How dare you, Sheldon Brown?
Yeah, right. So that was kind of an interesting concept. So we had looked at the market, and I'm going back a few years, and the numbers are just kind of back of the napkin here, but we started to watch the growth of the segment. And as new competitors entered the segment, what we saw was we weren't fighting for the same market share per se. Actually, the market was expanding. So new entries would come in, and the market was just growing, or the segment, I should say, segment market was just growing. And the interesting part was all the growth is in the double cab. Basically, for like 3 years, the access cab basically stayed stagnant. It stayed the same amount. We had about 30% of that market of just of the C cab market, the access cab market. And what we noticed of that, say 30,000 units that we were selling there, almost 50% of those, they're choosing a rear seat delete. So it really tipped the key to us that said, hey, people aren't really putting people back there. They're putting things back there. They're putting, storage, goods. They want, a little bit of dry storage. Plus they get the benefit of the short wheelbase with the long deck, right? The 6-foot deck. So that's where we really focused and said, okay, we need to do something to really drive value. We need to get as much of the cost out. And to be perfectly candid, developing an entirely new cab with the suicide doors and the structure that needs to go into the roof and into the B-pillar, without the B-pillar, the door area, including the rocker to transfer some of the new, crash loads, is going to be a lot of investment and a lot of development. So we thought, is there a way that we could do this a little bit better? So we kind of took a page out of the old school, and we looked at like the original B-cab. And that was, if you think about it, it was just the two-door, but 2 seats, nothing in the back. And so our idea behind that, we called it B-Max. That was an internal development code. And it was a B-cab with maximized storage. And so we looked at some old technology that, from, for example, the coupes, where, the driver's seat, you can quick flip and it slides forward and tilts and the seat indexes forward, and then you can push it right back and it has the seat memory. But that allows you to get a little bit more access to that back area behind the driver. And then on the passenger side, we went back to like an old school full flat seat where, when a lot of folks were using these, for work environments. So, maybe you've got your laptop or you've got your contractor pad or something like that you want to put up there. Fold it over, you got some flat desk space. You can put different things in that seat. It's ultimately configurable. And then in the back, we were sort of inspired by the sort of garage pegboard. People that wanted to put gear that they're not going to use every single day, but, they wanted to have it with them. They wanted to be able to close it up. Make sure that it was out of sight, and then especially in the lower stores, we wanted to make sure it was lockable. I don't know about you guys, but a bunch of times, you get out of work, maybe you head right to meet some folks for a drink after work or something like that, and you got your laptop, your backpack, or something like that. You're going to park on the street. You just want a place where you can tuck it, throw it in, lock it up, keep it out of sight, so that you don't tempt anybody. And so those are sort of the use cases that we looked at for this. And that was really how we wanted to reimagine it. And we thought that there was still a really strong segment of the market that was really looking for that smaller cabin, but that longer deck. And in the exterior, the 6-foot deck was the priority with the short wheelbase.
I'm just looking at it to put my sub box back there. I got to be honest.
You got a lot of room for one.
I'm going to put 2 15s back there. I'm just going to.
I think you do 2 18s.
You could
weak
do 18s.
Sauce.
Yeah,
weak
right.
sauce.
Yeah, that's true. Is anyone doing 18s? Mostly it's like 2 10s back there. Come
on.
You're right.
Well, when have you ever been everybody? All right, let's go through. Lightning has a list of sort of the componentry, so let's jump through sort of feature sets, and then you can walk us through kind of maybe the decisions and why you did something here or didn't do something there, or maybe describe in greater detail. So
I want to start with the engine configuration. In the TRD Pro, you've got one option, which is the Mac Daddy, the iForce Max, which with a whopping 465 pound-feet of torque and all kinds of amazing features with it. But then let's go backwards from all the way from the SR. What are our options up through the TRD Pro?
Yeah, sure. So starting at the SR, that is where we'll introduce what we are calling our iForce, but it's our detuned version of the iForce. So it's still the L4 Turbo with the 8-speed automatic transmission. It's 228 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, about 240 pound-feet of torque at 1,600 RPM. And again, lining that up with the value proposition, minimizing the amount of development, maintaining and carrying over a lot of the engine componentry, right, that we do the investment in to get a very technical. A lot of the whirly bits, they become expensive. But what we wanted to do is if you can overall reduce the total peak torque and the peak power output, oftentimes as a system, not just the engine itself, but as the total vehicle system, you're able to reduce the amount of remediation that you need for things like noise, vibration, harshness, for heat rejection. So that means we can downsize those systems a little bit, and we can actually take some hardware out and really pass that savings along to the customer. So that was the core. That's why we wanted to have an entry level powertrain. From there, you go to like the SR5 grade, and then our core TRDs. You get the iForce engine, and you talked about that. That's the 278 horsepower, 6,000 RPM. Maybe most importantly, 317 pound-feet of torque at 1,700 RPM. You pair that with our 8-speed automatic transmission, and really this just is, it's got all kinds of go. It's a great motor transmission pairing. We were really able to focus in on something that we call drivability. When we looked at our outgoing truck, one of the foibles or some of the concerns that we had, some folks said, hey, when we're paired with when you're paired with our 6-speed, they love the motor, but it wasn't producing horsepower. You didn't get that torque until you get into some of the higher RPM, and they felt like it gear hunted a bit. And so we really wanted to make sure that we had drive force across the entire drive range. And really, the 8-speed really allows us to really, make small, short steps between the gears, so that we can make sure that we're producing lots of torque at that 1,700 RPM, and then we can match it very, very closely with the gear. So great overall, what we call gradeability. That's the ability for it to go up a hill without shifting, and around 6%, which means, just about any U.S. highway, you can pull that grade without ever having to shift. So really, that was core to the new development here.
Sheldon, let's pause for 1 second here. Yeah. How did you get the torque that low down to 1,700 RPM? That's diesel territory.
It is, and honestly, that's of course the turbo. And when we looked at sizing our turbo, you look at two different things. A lot of times, big numbers, catalog numbers are what sell our trucks. So a lot of folks, may focus on the larger turbo. We didn't want to necessarily make the biggest turbo. We wanted to make what I'll tell you I think was the right size turbo. And so we really focused on performance and really response is what we were looking at. So we wanted to make sure that we had our twin scroll turbo that spooled up really quick and really got us up and running very, very quickly in terms of the torque response. So that was the number one way to do that. And so rather than going for a slightly larger turbo with slightly larger horsepower numbers, we really focused on response.
And the manual is available with which configuration?
It's actually available in our SR grade, and it's also available in our TRD Sport and ORP. So it's with our iForce engine.
I've driven the automatic version. I haven't driven the manual yet, but man, a TRD off-road with a stick. Oh,
that'd be fun.
Oh yeah,
that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, that would be amazing. Before we move on to the iForce Max engines, what was the decision for the manual? Did you feel like the take rate was high enough to justify the inclusion of that? Everybody else is going away from that. Obviously, Toyota owners, especially the ones that go all the way back to the early 80s, the Toyota manual is legendary in that truck, and it's always been a part of the truck. Are there just those customers who don't want you to take that shift knob out of their hands unless they're dead and cold, or what?
Yeah, you're kind of hinting at it. It was really for the performance enthusiast. A lot of times, when we started thinking about the manual transmission, I've had two of them. I always tell everybody, why wouldn't you buy it? You get 50% more pedals. I mean, what a great deal that is. Who doesn't buy up for that, right? No, but it's something that brings that third dimension to off-road. And then if you do enjoy driving, especially in our sport, we obviously felt like that customer is lined up and that customer is ready for something like that. And that's something that they really want. And to me, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, it was a little bit of a battle, but we really felt that it was something that was important because, as you mentioned, we've had it in the lineup forever. Once, that thing goes away, it's probably never coming back. Unfortunately, the demand rate is not super high. We saw about 6% last year. We're hoping to bump that up a little bit because, we're kind of one of the last there to have it. But again, we wanted to not just bring that that manual and just sort of, dump it in the truck. We wanted to bring some new technology to it as well. So, we did a couple of things, I think, to really refine it and make the drive experience a little bit more exciting. So on the clutch side, if you drove the old one, everything was pretty heavy. And we had the hydraulic clutch accumulator that was there to sort of isolate vibration, et cetera. But the one thing that it sort of numbed the experience, and the throw wasn't always consistent. So we got rid of that. I wanted to make sure that every time, you release that clutch, you knew right where it was going to engage, especially when you're off-road, you're in a tight situation, right? You don't want to be like waiting to try to feel where that clutch is. You want to know every time that it's going to come out. And so some people are like, oh, it's a little bit high in the clutch throw. Yeah, once you get used to it, it's in the same location every single time. So that was important. And then we also offered the IMT2 technology, which is the intelligent manual transmission, which has the anti-stall feature as well as the auto rev matching. And it's great for that day, when you don't feel like rolling the gears. You're coming back from work or something like that. You've been a long day and you just kind of want to kind of mail it in. It's really nice. It just kind of helps you and makes life a little bit easier. And then, it's great for anybody who's just learning how to drive a manual transmission, because the anti-stall is really helpful, and it just makes it a more enjoyable experience. If you don't like it, no problem. You don't have to turn it on, but it's there for you if you need it.
How does the rev matching work?
So actually, it's a similar technology that we have, for example, if you've driven a Corolla manual. But basically, as you start to release the clutch, then it looks at the gear, the gear throw position, and then it basically will decide and basically blip the RPM for you.
There's actually a little man inside your transmission, and he has a direct line to the throttle, and he pulls the cable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that may not be true. No. So then let's get into the iForce Max and hybrid technology.
Sure.
So we saw it first with the Tundra, and we said, okay, well, this is clearly going to go into the Tacoma, and then you announced that it would be. I'm wondering, you can't say probably necessarily what the take rate will be, but ultimately I'm curious how it will be adopted. It's got much better performance, which you'll explain in a moment. I think it's a big deal for a truck to be offered in a hybrid.
So it's basically being overlaid on the high trim levels, and it's the only option. So I think take rate is going to be whatever those trims are, right? Whereas, sometimes you'll be able to choose your engine. This is a non-plug-in hybrid, so this is very similar to the setup in the Tundra, except the Tundra's a V6 versus this being a 4-cylinder. And this engine is actually going to proliferate in a lot of places, as it's already been announced going into the upcoming Land Cruiser as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So this is strategic across the entire, I'll say, truck lineup, the global truck lineup. And we're using the identical motor, identical battery that Sequoia and Tundra use, right? And so we're basically now sandwiching this motor generator in between the L4 turbo and between the 8-speed transmission. So obviously we had to make some adjustments to the bell housing, et cetera, to make sure that those work versus from the 10AT to the 8AT. But ultimately, we're using that it's really a performance based hybrid. And what we really love about it, we talked about it, 326 horsepower. Probably the most amazing thing is the 465 pound-feet of torque at 1700 RPM. So this thing has just got gobs and gobs and gobs of torque, and it's right there. It comes in immediately. That's the great part about the electric motor. I mean, before that turbo even has a chance to think about spooling up, you're getting all this torque coming in, being supplied directly from the motor.
Are you basically using the motor to fill in the gap ahead of the engine basically coming up online, and that way it smooths out the driving experience?
Well, it surely does. Absolutely. It basically helps fill in the gap in front of the build of the torque curve. Obviously, it then extends the peak. And then on the back end, when we start to ramp off, it still fills in on the back side of that as well, on the back end of the torque curve. So that's how we're using it to assist and to effectively drive performance. Now, the great part that we always talk to people about this is some people will say, oh, well, it doesn't get our traditional hybrid fuel economy. And that's true, because it is just this one motor generator that's used for this performance side. But the great part is very few times you can move and get like V8 power with L4 fuel economy with, incredible SULEV 30 emissions, right? So you get more power, better fuel economy, and, you're going to get incredible emissions performance. So put it together, it's actually a pretty good deal. And you got to remember, we're putting these in all of our premium, or what I would say is our heavier trucks, right? So our Pros and Trail Hunters, these are lifted. They got big tires on them. The ORP runs a 33-inch tire on that vehicle. So again, all of these things would have, dramatically diminished your general fuel economy, but we're actually getting better fuel economy. For everybody out there who wanted to put a V8 in it, how about an L4 with V8 power?
I would also argue that for people who are going to modify, having the motor in there is probably going to be helpful for lessening the fuel economy drop off that you would get by, putting bigger wheels and tires and all that. And it should be, I would imagine, to a point fairly aftermarket friendly from the standpoint of having the electric motor sandwiched between the trans and the engine allows everything downstream of the output shaft to be just like every other Tacoma. So when suspension's being developed or anything driveline related downstream, there's not going to be anything weird. There's not going to be a on-wheel motor, on-axle motor, or something that you have to solve for. It's going to be able to be modified and upgraded just like a regular non-hybrid Tacoma, which I think is going to help with adoption because the aftermarket is going to be able to make products that everybody can use regardless of what powertrain you have.
Portal axles.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you could use portal axles. Yes, Lightning.
Exactly. Completely agnostic to that driveline. You're exactly right. So that's whatever you're doing to most of the areas. The big issue is just you got to manage the torque because it puts out a lot of torque, right? So we just to manage this, we bump you up to what we call the BD24 axle. That's a common axle housing that we use with, or I should say differential that we use with the Tundra. The axle housing itself is obviously unique to Tacoma based on the width of the wheelbase, et cetera. But the tread width, but the rear differential is slightly different gear pack, but basic same design. So yeah, we're running like a 9.5 inch rear diff in there, and it's
which is sizable on a mid-size product.
Power. So yes, it is. It's large to quite large.
So I guess I was going to save it to the end, but it makes sense since we're talking about the engine and the electrification. There is the offloading of power by stepping up into the iForce Max. You're now at several thousand watts. I think, isn't it like 2,400 watts of output, which is basically like a 20 amp circuit, both available in cab and in the bed. Is that correct?
You got it. Spot on. Yes, sir. And I think one of the things you'll like about this as well is that you can use that while you're driving, while it's in park, et cetera. So on the outgoing model, if you remember, like the 400 watt inverter that we had in the deck, while you were parked or the vehicle was in neutral, it was a 400, and during running, it would typically drop to 100 watts. But we keep 2,400 consistent. So it's if you're running a fridge, for example, as you're rolling to your next spot or something like that, you want to keep things cool. No problem. If you want to charge something up while you're rolling, no problem at all. So 2,400 watts all the time. Obviously, engine's got to be on, but yeah, it's great for. I think it's we wanted to do something that was significant. You can run just about anything you're going to need. It's not, you're not going to run an entire power station out of that, but that's not really how most folks use this particular product. So this is really, again, focused on that overlanding, that sort of, tailgater. You're looking for some power. But like you said, it's a 20 amp fuse or a 20 amp 120 volt system back there. So yeah, it works pretty good.
So we can use my blender for margaritas. That's all I care about.
And a TV.
And the TV.
You got that right.
A big screen TV
right.
at it, by the way.
That's right.
So then let's move on to suspension. And it's unmistakable when you're looking at the TRD Pro and the Trail Hunter, the forged machine aluminum upper control arms. And there's a lot more beyond that, but that's a nice piece of jewelry. And you could have
And it really is jewelry. I mean, you look at it, looks very much like something you would buy from some of the aftermarket performance race shops, except it's a TRD with tooling marks on it and
by the way,
aluminum. I mean, it's really cool.
A couple of Easter eggs, apparently, on the upper
that's
control
right.
arms.
That's
yes.
right.
I thought it was kind of cool. We won't tell you what those are. You're going to have to go and look for them. Talk us through the suspension from
the upper control arms all the way to the outboard shocks to the fact that you have two different rear suspension designs. So much going on with this platform. It's not like one design or one configuration that you are using for everything. You actually have different things on different products, which I thought was pretty novel and amazing in this price point, in this size of class of truck, that there are that many options.
Yeah, thanks for, and you guys are really picking up on all the important features here. So the TNGF platform I talked about, when we developed that was meant to work across, everywhere from the Land Cruiser 300 that was on sale globally, and we were going to use that same basic frame I'll say, width, if you will. So the ladder frame construction is basically the same. The side silhouette of the main frame rails is going to be the same, and then we are effectively going to adjust it. In the center, we would be able to change the length to adjust for the different wheelbases. And that was kind of how we developed that. We could optimize and maximize, again, all of our components. It allows for great sharing of product across our truck lines. I think we tried to demonstrate that when we went to SEMA, and we showed our proof of concept X runner, where we were taking a Tacoma and kind of slammed it to the ground and used a lot of Tundra components. But the purpose on Tacoma then was to make sure that we could gauge the frame to the right size. So we recognize that we don't have to have the same thickness across the board. So that's where we utilize our tailor welded blanks to adjust for that. Then, of course, when we look at the midsize, you talked about how do you take Tacoma to the next generation? Like how do you progress it? And so that was really when we went to that multi-link rear suspension, where we thought that we could really differentiate ourselves from all of our competitors and really bring all of that lateral stability that is sort of inherent to that design and bring it to the compact segment. And so we really bring that from basically SR5 grade all the way up. We focus on that. But I mentioned again how we wanted to aggressively compete. So one of the things that we took back in North America is we said, how can we bring some more cost out of this? Leaf springs are great. I'm not going to. They're a great suspension. Obviously, you don't get the same sort of lateral performance. You're asking the Leaf to do a bunch of different things, whereas each of those links has a very specific duty in mind, right? In terms of whether it's stabilizing the axle in a specific direction or area of motion, where the Leaf is having to accommodate all that. So you can't get the same overall performance out of a Leaf. It's being asked to do many things. But again, for those folks who are looking for just a very basic truck, this looks like a truck, sounds like a truck, drives like a truck, I'm good. We wanted to pass that along. So really, a great credit goes to our chassis team, who really looked at it really hard and said, hey, what if we did this? Obviously, we had to remove the coil seats and things of that nature, but effectively, we welded on a hanger spring. Now, critical to us was, or I should say a hanger bracket, critical for this was for us to make sure that we maintain the same ride height and the same posture so that we could, get the rest of the vehicle development the same. And so what they did was they basically slung that spring under the axle, and then simply using a secondary punch, we have another hole in the frame where we can have the other spring bushing. And so that was how we put it together. And we thought that for very little investment, we could bring some of the cost out and provide what I would say is a more traditional truck suspension lineup for that entry grade truck. But with saying that, the great part is with the overall new frame, with the amount of rigidity that we brought to this frame, even this Leaf really is a step up from the outgoing model. So if you haven't had a chance to drive it, I certainly encourage you to. That's a whole lot of fun, especially in our pre-runner variation, which runs that suspension configuration. On the corners, you guys brought it up. Obviously, we're using the Fox. That's sort of been signature, our partnership with Fox in the pros. That's where we're using the QS3, the Quick Switch 3, which has basically piggyback reservoirs in both the front and rear. And we're using those together with our hydro jump stopper in the back to really deliver great off-road performance. So switch position 1 is a little bit more relaxed. It's meant for on-road, helps you take up some of the bumps and gives you a little bit more compliance. Still gives you some non-linear, I'll say, compression characteristics. But if you really want to dial it up when you're going off-road, you click it over to 3, and you really have a lot more compression in that system. So it's a really cool system. We talked about Old Man Union, kind of a similar situation there. This one's a little bit more focused on road with a nice linear on-road zone, using the end stop control when we're heavily weighted. And making sure that we stop you from bottoming out and getting into the stops too quickly. Our ORP, honestly, I don't know that anybody else has it, but we have monotube Bilstein end stop control with piggyback reservoirs. It's a great suspension. It's a great shock, and overall, we're able to provide incredible on-road performance. The first time I drove it, to be perfectly honest, I went back to the team and said, I want to prove this tune until we have a chance to drive it off-road. It just feels too good on road to be any good off-road, and they proved me wrong. They did an excellent job.
That's funny. They tried to call him out in advance. He's like, there's no way this is going to work in both on and off-road. They're like, oh, yeah, we got you.
Well, I've had a chance to drive it. Yeah. I'll tell you, it drives awesome. The off-road package is really nice.
I feel like we glossed over. So he's talked about the Fox QS3 switchable shocks. And one of the videos I was watching, you just get under the front at the bottom of the shock mount, like inboard of the lower control arm, that's where it switched. Well, it was so easily accessible. It's like you didn't have to pop the hood or anything. You just bend down, click, 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 done. You've made the adjustment. I thought that was pretty slick.
And it's nice because you don't have too many adjustments, right? It's easy to, in like a bypass shock or something like that, where there might be 10 settings, it's easy to upset the suspension and get lost in where you are. 3 makes it easy. You're either on the left position, the middle position, or the right position.
But to your point, we figure some folks are probably going to be, depending on how fast they're going, they may be airing down a little bit if they're going to be going off-road. So while you're down there, boom, like you said, click it over. It's pretty much that easy. And that upper control arm, it's actually made by the same groups that our TAE racing group. So same folks that are machining the engines for our race cars are also making those parts for us. And it's a little bit overlooked. It's lighter, it's stronger, but it also gives you about an additional half an inch of clearance and droop because we're able to get more strength with less section. So it is a functional, not just truck jewelry, but actually a functional component in the system configuration on Pro and Trailhunter.
The TRD Pro is 3 inches wider. Is that correct?
3 inches wider than the SR5.
Okay.
Sorry, excuse me. It's 3 inches wider than the 24 model year SR5. About 6 inches wider if you're going back to the previous generation SR5.
Which is wide. That's a lot.
Holy
That's like a
mackerel.
mid-travel kit upgrade on a current truck, basically.
Yeah. That's as wide as a Toyota Corolla tire. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. And honestly, it's great. I'm glad you brought it up because that was one of the core tenets of the new truck, right? We said people wanted garageability. They wanted us to keep the bumper to bumper the same. We did. While we got wider in our tread width, about 3 inches wider from SR5 to SR5, we decided that we wanted to keep the door to door the same. So as you're getting in and out of the truck, you still have the ability to open that door in the garage. So that was a really important tenet. And then we were talking suspension. I just wanted to say, that was one of the things I think, was one of the things that we really wanted to do in development for these different grades. Historically, when we've had the different grades, we tend to kind of, it's easy to kind of push everything to the middle, right? We want everything to be really great on road and to be really quiet and to be, supple, but not, but still perform okay. And we took a very different approach when we said, if we're going to have this many grades of truck, we need to give each one its identity, and we have to remain true to that identity. So Sport is very much tuned to be an on-road truck. Yeah, you still get articulation. Sure, you can take it off-road, but its tune is really for on-road performance. Off-road, as you had a chance to drive, still going to treat you well on road, but again, it's really focused on that high-energy stuff that you get off-road and that sort of, I'll say, that secondary input isolation. And then the same thing goes for like Limited with the adaptive variable suspension that we use there. We really focused on making sure that it was plush. And we took the comfort, I'll say, to the Sport, and we really just widened those bars. We just pushed into the corners, and so we wanted to be really, really soft and really, really firm. And then, of course, we had that bandwidth to basically adjust as we're feeling the road inputs in between. So that was really important to us, that we had this very unique point of view. And I think if you have a chance to drive the different grades, you can sort of experience that as you move from the SR5 and the Leaf, and then you move into the SR and the Leaf to the SR5, then you move into the TRD. It's not just a wheel, tire, and sticker package. You're getting performance tuning, you're getting specification, and you're getting hardware. And that's the value that maybe not all the customers see immediately, but there's really important things as you walk through these grades that we try to make sure that we're providing value. So just an example of that, we talked about like the front half shafts, the CV joints. We're using, when you move into TRD, you get a high angle, a high torque spline design. So that allows us to go from 26 degrees to 31 degrees, but more importantly, when it's completely bound or it's at one of these, the complete, high angles at 31 degrees, it's designed for that big torque element. So if you're off-road, you're rock crawling, etc. Those are things that maybe underneath the skin you don't immediately see, but we did a lot to make sure that those TRD performance packages are, they're really based on more than just a different sticker package or a different wheel and tire.
Trailhunter, I thought it was interesting that you have the Old Man Emu Bilstein collaboration underneath that truck, and you didn't just say, hey, here's the overlanding vehicle, and we put the same Fox shocks that are on the regular one. The other thing is there's a sway bar disconnect, which I think is becoming sort of in these adventure vehicles like a must-have in feature content when people are comparing specs across different platforms. And then there's a few things that you did with that truck that I thought were kind of cool. Not regarding the suspension, but the Trail Hunter has a turned down exhaust tip ahead of the rear axle for clearance, which I thought was one of those cool things you just don't see the OEs doing much.
Yep, yeah, exactly right. So the stabilizer bar disconnect, that was really, that was going to be important. Just we knew we were making the frame a little bit more rigid. We still wanted to give you the ability to have that great articulation. And, a lot of off-roaders, they're forced with that choice. I'm either going to remove my front sway bar, and it's going to be a little bit brutal on the highway and on the drive to and from the trail, or you're going to have to deal with the loss of suspension articulation when you're on the trail. And so we thought, well, this is one of those things where, as an OE, this is what I would tell you is the more heavy lifting type of thing, right? We can integrate that into our design electronically. It'll disconnect under load, so you don't have to necessarily be on flat ground or anything like that while you're driving 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, 4-low. It's up to about 20-ish miles an hour before it'll auto reconnect for you. But yeah, it's great, and it really improves the articulation. And you don't always think about it, but when you allow that front to basically loosen up, you really allow that back to droop, and you get the full twist. And so where we have a slightly more rigid frame, where we may have had a little bit more compliance on the old truck, which led to more, I'll say, less body control for on-road performance. We can really make up for that with that front stabilizer disconnect.
Sheldon, I saw in one of the videos you said that not only do you gain 4 inches of travel by disconnecting the front sway bar, you can also disconnect it electronically from in the cab while you're fully bound up on a rock.
Exactly right. So it'll completely unlock. Now, in the full bound condition, there is an occasion where there's enough prevailing sort of stress on it. It won't release. But all you have to do is just roll that truck just a little bit, and you'll hear it go pink, and it'll pop open, and yeah, she'll flex right out there for you.
So while we're talking about the premium things, and I know we don't want to keep you until tomorrow, but we will try, is the isodynamic seats
can he just spend the night with us?
He can. I mean, I don't think he wants to. But the seats are another thing where you guys said, let's find a novel technology that's going to improve the vehicle experience. And you took some of this racing technology in your seats and put those in the TRD Pro. I think everybody is super curious how they work. What does it do for the driver? I'm hearing a lot less fatigue, even in the little bit of amount that it helps to absorb. So maybe walk us through that a little bit, because that's one of the biggest questions I've been getting from, let's say, people on the street. Hey, have you seen the new Tacoma? Tell me about the seats. For some reason, the seat is like this massive talking point, and we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about it.
There's no one seen bionics in seats before.
It's a little bit novel, right? So I'm going to say about 10 years ago, Lexus came out with something that it was a proof of concept that they demonstrated, and they called it the kinetic seat. And it was a seat that was sort of a futuristic looking, sort of web-based seat that was designed for basically reducing driver fatigue. And the engineers came over and they showed it to us and said, well, what do you think? And we thought, man, it's really great. But you're like, I just don't know where we're going to apply it. So when we were kind of thinking through what did we want to do to really take Pro to the next level, we looked at it and said, well, we like where their head was at on this. We wanted to change it up a little bit. And so what this actually does is it runs off of, there's basically a front, in the front of the seat, there's basically a pivot. So think of it like a swivel point. Then we have effectively at the headrest in the top area, there's a sort of superstructure that we have, and it basically has a spring-loaded pivot ball joint there as well. And what this thing does is it has two, I'll say, shocks, if you will, that are in the vertical direction, and then two in sort of the horizontal direction. Don't think of it in shocks in the terms of displacement, but think of it as really basically trying to counteract the force. They're basically trying to keep that seat centered. So when you go through and you get these high G, whether it's the input is vertical or lateral or a combination of both, this seat is all these different shocks are working together to basically try to minimize the amount of sway that you get between, for example, your hips, your spine, and your head. Ultimately, the goal is to stabilize that big melon on top of. We got these big, like 8-pound, or I don't even know how many pounds.
Lightning's is about 40 pounds.
How dare you?
Yeah, there you go. But we really want to keep your eyeballs straight.
You need the isodynamic plus seats.
I do. Yeah, it's all brain though. It's all brain.
But you want to keep your eyeballs straight, right? And that's, you see it in performance sports, right? You see people downhill skiers, etc. The body's moving, but the head stays perfectly straight, and you're focused. And that was the concept. how do we stabilize that upper body so that the driver can spend more of their time focused on the inputs of what they're doing. And then the secondary, of course, is since you're not always trying to counteract that with your body, that's where you really see the fatigue reduction. And we can see that the input loads that go into the occupant, as well as overall, we do a lot of eye trace when people are running off-road for with and without, so we can lock those out, or we can lock out vertical, we can lock out horizontal. When we actually look at that, we can see that the amount of eye movement is significantly less. And I'll tell you, like on a trail, run it 2 times, fresh, never run the trail before, run it 2 times back to back. Everybody runs at 10, 15 mile an hour faster, just because they're really getting to the point where they're not, feeling that getting thrown all over the truck. They're able to really focus on what they're doing and allow the mechanics of the truck to take care of them. So I really encourage you to get out there and try it. It's hard to describe. It's much better to experience, but yeah, that was sort of the genesis. And the great part is we're just using like a kind of a traditional, like something you might see like in a mountain bike where you can air them up. So based on how much movement you like, based on, different occupant mass, you can adjust that. And so it's got a little small pump.
That was a polite way of Sheldon saying fat guys like us, more pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, right there with you, brother. But no, and people have a different, level of input. And the same thing goes for like different, input loads. It's different between rock crawling and maybe running fast in the desert, right? The amount of compression that you want could be different. So very adjustable. We have an app that comes right in your phone. It gives you all the pressure recommendations, and then you can play with it and decide what you like. And if you say, hey, you know what, I'm not too interested. Like I said, there's 2 little valves in the back. You just turn them 90 degrees and you shut it off. It's air over oil, and it's pretty straightforward.
I guess in the challenge of trying to get as much information now as possible, Lightning has a quick hit list, so he's going to run through one at a time, a couple or a few options down the list.
Well, while we're talking about the interior, so go from seats to stereo. As you know, I'm a geek, and I love JBL, so I have JBL monitors at work. Talk me through the system. JBL has been with Toyota for a while, but the new center speaker, right, where you'd hear the singer of the band coming out center stage on the dashboard, is removable. It's called a flex speaker, if I'm not mistaken. Not only is it removable, you can daisy chain it with all your friends' flex speakers around the campsite.
Because we know all you Tacoma guys like to run together, so
they do,
there
right?
will be more than one.
So that is super cool. And what I found really interesting is I thought, that's novel. It's great, except it's got to have some kind of a lithium-ion battery in it because it's removable, right? Take it to the campsite. When I go to Lake Havasu and it's 120 degrees outside and it's 155 degrees inside my cabin while I'm on the boat on the water and my truck's over on the dock, on the launch ramp waiting for me to get back, it's boiling in there. What happens to that lithium-ion battery? And I heard you mention that there had been some heat testing to make sure that was not going to expand and I'm going to end up with a tacoed battery.
So you hit it on the head, right? So we pair that as part of our total 10-speaker system. And the great part about it was I really appreciate having a nice stereo and a nice sound system in your truck. And so we wanted to make sure when we were going to bring the JBL system, it was going to be tuned and have the power output that we're really, really looking for. So you have really good performance. We pair that whole system with a ported subwoofer that's in the back of the truck, ported to the exterior, so you get maximum boom. And the center channel is really, we talked about having something, again, Tacoma was a lifestyle truck for us. We called it our ultimate adventure machine. And so we knew that people, we wanted the experience on the road out there. You can take it right from the cabin and bring it to the campfire. And that was the genesis of saying, okay, we want to have this removable speaker. Now we've seen other folks come in with a portable speaker, but my point was that I don't want to be carrying around this big mass. I want something that's going to work with me while I'm in the cabin. So the the instrument panel was certainly not the best location in terms of heat load, but it was the best location in terms of having something that was actually functional and actually contributes to the overall sound, the sound stage. And it is really great because you've got your tweeters in the A-pillar, then you've got your center channel, and it just gives you this totally full sound stage. You can hear all the different instruments and you get the depth of sound that you're looking for. So really great tune-in. Now, the trick to that was how to get over the heat, especially sitting there, as you suggested, baking in the sun. And what we're actually using is a lithium solid-state battery that has a significantly better performance than the traditional lithium ions. They're able to withstand extreme heat conditions. And so we use that technology to basically get around the heat concerns. You lose a little bit of battery capacity, total capacity, energy capacity, but much better overall heat performance. And so, we wanted to make sure that it was rugged, but it worked. As you said, you can plug it out. If for whatever reason, you forget to bring it with you, you're at the campsite and you left it in your backpack and you're driving, it's no problem. The equalizer recognizes that it's in or it's out, and then it adjusts and rebalances the sound distribution, whether or not it recognizes that in the center channel area. It charges while you're going, and it's IP6X compatible, which means it's waterproof down to 1 meter for 30 minutes. If you happen to let it, slip off your kayak, and you're able to quickly get it before it gets too deep. So it's really meant to be, a portable, usable audio system.
He just glosses over the fact that when you remove it and you leave it at the campsite in your backpack, the system knows it's not there.
It reminds you.
It puts the singer or whatever's in the center channel, it spreads it back out to the left and right. So then you have a perfect sound stage, even though that speaker's missing. That's pretty trick. There's a lot of programming going on there.
But does it tell you that you left it? Like, does it say, hey, I'm missing a center speaker guy?
I assume that you'd lose some of the staging, but you'd know. You'd look, there's a hole in your dash.
Yeah. We're hoping that's self-obvious, but yeah.
Take us through the drive mode. So you've got sport, normal, eco. I was curious, and a lot of cars and trucks have those today. I was wondering, what do those things change? Because depending on the vehicle, they can do a lot or very little. In some cases, they just remap the pedal. It sounded like these modes might do more in the 24 Tacoma.
We have a 5 mode and a 3 mode. So most of the trucks are going to get the 3 mode, which is the eco and the sport. And in both of those cases, it will be the pedal map. It will also be the power steering feeling, as well as the. Do
you do any transmission?
Map.
So you do transmission shift points at all, or no?
Yes.
You do.
Right. Yes, I do. Yep, shift points. Yep, faster shift points. That's exactly right for sport mode. Sorry about that. Actually, for sport and for eco mode. Then when you go to the 5 mode, which is typically that's almost exclusively in our limited with the adaptive variable suspension, then of course you add in the suspension component as well.
So then still sticking with the interior, trailer backup mode. Mm-hmm. So you've got a trailer backup mode, but it's not like what your competition is doing. This is for potentially shorter wheelbase trailers. So and I'm wondering how that works. Does it kind of slow down the steering input so you're not making? Because look, how many guys have you seen at the launch ramp that can't get a single jet ski down because it's constant jackknife? But I couldn't picture how it would work.
Yeah, no. So it's actually very similar technology to what we actually have in Tundra. There's been a few, I'll say, slight improvements to the overall system. But yeah, what it basically does is it's a feature that once you line up the trailer to generally the position that you want it, basically you can set that, and then the cameras will look at the angle of the trailer, and they'll actually go ahead and auto adjust the amount of input to your steering. And it'll basically make sure that you back it completely straight. So it's looking at the trailer angle, and it's basically putting in the input into the steering as necessary to make sure that you're not jackknifing that trailer. So once you get it to kind of the point in the direction you want, you set it, and then basically the truck takes over and makes sure that you keep going straight.
So wait a minute, this is a big disappointment. Now we're not going to see any new Tacomas on Qualified Captain Instagram. Take us through the camera system, because you've also got some pretty trick cameras.
We do. We have a number of cameras, and of course that depends on the different options that you take the vehicle. Of course, we always going to have the backup cam, but then we have what we call PDM, which is on most of our TRD grades. It is an option, but that's the panoramic view. So this is a 360 panoramic view camera system. So we've got the front camera up in the grill. Got cameras in each of the side mirrors. We have a camera in the tailgate, and then we have one up in the chimsel. So the panoramic view gives you the 360 view. It gives you the ability to see in front of the truck, along the sides of the truck. There's about 6 or 7 different camera angles that you can put up on your screen, depending on what you're trying to do. It's got the backup. The forward shows you where you're going to trace your pattern. It shows you along the sides, basically where your wheels are. And then, of course, it'll give you a 360 like bird's eye view of the truck as well. If you happen to be rolling down if you have the digital mirror as well, and you're rolling down the road and you want to check your load, you can hit the display, and basically the camera will turn on in that upper chisel, and it'll look down into your bed so you can see what's going on with your load in the back of the truck. And then if you get the ORP, we upgrade you to the multi-train view. And of course that's great, right? Because as you're cresting a hill, it's basically got the technology that uses the front camera and the side cameras to project what the obstacle in front of you. And as you're sort of passing it over, it gives you that sort of clear front end of the truck so you can kind of see as you move over that obstacle. It's great when you're at Moab or, coming up a big spline and you don't know if you're about to drive off to nowhere, or, if you have to bail to the right or bail to the left. Great views. We're using high definition cameras, so the resolution is fantastic. You pair that with our 14-inch, basically audio screen, our display screen, and I mean, you get a really great view of what's going in and around your truck. We love it. It's almost cheating, but it really kind of shows you your tire path, and you can look down and see where your tire is. So if you're really trying to avoid, for example, like a sharp rock, you don't want to cut the sidewall. Great way to make sure that you got your wheels positioned in the right location so that you don't cut a tire.
You've got 3 shark fins on the roof. One is probably GPS, radio, whatever. The two outer ones, though, those are for wireless cameras?
They are. So that is an option. That is not standard. Standard is the center one. And that's, as you suggested, that's for all of the traditional radio antenna and GPS, et cetera. The 2 outer ones are an optional. And what they do is they are paired with our digital rearview mirror. And you can buy, as an accessory, a remote trailer camera that can be attached to just about the back of any trailer. And what that does is wirelessly transmit the view from behind the trailer to the vehicle, and is displayed on your rear view display mirror. And so you can see, instead of when you look in the mirror, instead of seeing the trailer, you see what's behind the trailer.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Couple quick things, and then we know. Thank you very much, by the way, for carving out so much time
super
for us.
gracious to give us so much time.
So you're talking about like thrifting some of the pieces out to save money and save the customer. Get them in a higher trim grade by pulling certain pieces out. But then you go and do things like changing the tailgate skin on all the models, and then you have the roof of the truck. There's no way that was easy to create a die for. When you're stamping the roof of the Tacoma is incredible. The way it swoops back like a fin, it looks like it was designed. I don't know. It's modern. It's industrial. It looks like you've future-proofed it. But there's no way that was easy to stamp.
Actually, huge shout out to our body and production engineering teams, because what we really wanted to do, one of the design elements of Tacoma is we wanted to look fast when it was standing still. And so you'll notice, compared even to like Tundra, where it's sort of, big and muscular and strong, we wanted to look athletic and agile. And one of that was to have this like fast swooping back, basically call it a rear spoiler on the top of the roof. But we didn't want to have that gap, or and we would call it a Mikiri line in Japanese, but it's that seam, right, where the spoiler meets the side member. So that actually is integrated directly into that side member stamping. And then we basically fill in between that with a rear spoiler. That spoiler is there, honestly, for aerodynamics, first and foremost, but we wanted to make sure it's part of the design element. As you get these trucks, they get a little bit taller. They have a bigger, area coefficient. We want to make sure that air is coming off, and we want it to kind of come in basically, not become turbulent in the bed. So we want it to kind of roll off and then separate. And that's why you see the spoiler on the back of the tailgate. You see it on the top of on the roof. We want to try to keep that laminar airflow as long as we can. So it looks good and it's functional.
So, Sheldon, I wanted to thank you on behalf of fans of the platform and the company. You brought out a couple months back, you brought a couple of Tacomas up to the SEMA garage. Holman, you were there, weren't you?
I was.
That's something that seems to be happening a little less these days. Some of the OEs are reluctant to share the product and have it get out there to the aftermarket companies, where they're like, you know what, we're going to offer those products. You'll go through us to get them. Toyota, though, on the other hand, you brought the trucks out there and you say, bring out your 3D scanners, lay down on the ground and have at it. Like, check out this truck, and if you can come up with something cool, you're embracing the aftermarket as a company, and I think that's super, super cool. Holman talks about it all the time. The companies that do the best embrace the aftermarket. Where do you stand personally on that aspect?
I'm so glad you asked that question. We miss it sometimes in our talking points, but another core tenet of Tacoma, right? We say we have a Tacoma for everybody, but we know that we can't possibly produce every single Tacoma the way everybody wants. And one of the big things, especially if you think about overlanding, but just in the compact segment, the off-road segment in general, people like to customize the trucks. And so what we wanted to do, of course, we wanted to be part of that. And you see Trail Hunter probably is the best example of where we said, okay, how do our customers use their trucks? And then when we said, let's make some offerings that we can provide, and Trail Hunter, a lot of that stuff you can buy direct from the factory. But the important thing for us was how we don't want to just compete with the aftermarket because, typically they can do things cheaper. They don't have the same regulations that we have to meet. So we looked for areas where we could provide what we thought was value. And so those were things that are more difficult maybe for the aftermarket to do. So, for example, our partnership with ARB, bringing ARB in for a rear steel bumper that we have on the Pro and on the Trail Hunter, being able to integrate that with our blind spot monitor, with our rear sonar. Those are tricky. Those are really hard to do without getting, false reflections and readings. But working with ARB, who has authentic, credible product and, great, I'll say, reputation in the off-road industry, bringing them in-house, partnering with them, designing to our high-quality standards, and then the integration of our vehicle, those were areas where we had, high synergy. So we saw this as really as a blue ocean opportunity for us. We wanted to say, hey, we've got an opportunity here. This is what we can do. We can bring this value to the table. We can pre-design suspensions and things that are a little bit more difficult, so you can work on accessorization, of deck racks and tents and things of that nature. We're partnering with, we call it our AAP, our Associated Accessory Products, with people who can provide those products to you. So if you want to go one-stop shopping directly to your dealer, you can roll it up into your financing, make it a little bit easier for you to afford. But on the same token, we said, hey, we get it. Maybe you got the brand that you want, and that's not maybe the folks that we work with. So even if you don't choose our particular product, we want to make sure that the Tacoma is the platform of choice for you. So we have put in a number of, I'll say, provisions and accommodations so that you can pick whoever you want. So as an example, all of our rockers, we leave the weld nuts there. So if you want to put a different running board on, you can buy one from us, great. If not, you want to find someone else, no problem. The accommodations are there. Same for the sliders in the frame. We've got those accommodations in place. You can purchase a pre-wire kit with 3 accessory switches. We've got a takeoff in the engine compartment, inside the cabin and back along the freight rail. All pre-wired for you, so you don't have to worry about, drilling through the firewall or doing any of that stuff. And so you can buy our accessories, put them in, or you can buy your own and do your own work. So to be symbiotic and to work with the aftermarket was super important. And that's why we wanted to have a presence at SEMA to basically invite people in and say, here's all new Tacoma, have at it, be creative. Let's accessorize these trucks.
The crowd loves you. Listen to that. That's their standing ovation for Sheldon Brown.
Sheldon Brown.
Hey, thanks for not ruining the Tacoma for everybody. I think that's a good way to end it, right?
I think so. And guys, I hope that didn't come off as a sales pitch as much as it is like it's a point of passion for us. We want to be the choice for folks, and so we're not gonna fight you tooth and nail. Whatever we can do to make it a little bit easier, we're gonna do what we can. So hopefully we've thought about a few of those things. We try to think about really how our customers want to drive their trucks and use their trucks, and really want to make sure that it's a great experience, because it's not just about the first sale even, right? It's sometimes the next owner of that truck, different aspirations, different ideas, different things they might want to do, right? So it's about a lifetime experience and engaging our customers across the entire life of the truck.
Well, your passion comes out loud and clear. I think it's awesome whenever we have an executive from a automotive company come on and really be able to pontificate on their hard work. I know you guys spend a lot of time in the fishbowl where you don't get a lot of outside input, and it's fun to finally release it and see if the world sees it the way you saw it. So I'm sure this is the fun part of your job now. We really appreciate how much time you spent with us on it. And we could go on and talk about Tacoma. The amount of changes and functionality and features and technology, it's a wholesale change for the truck. I mean, even people will laugh, but everybody either loves or hates the traditional Toyota small mid-sized truck seating position where your legs are more out in front of you, right? Well, you get in the new truck and it's got more of a traditional upright seating position, and visibility is a little bit better, and it's a little bit more comfortable, and it rides nice, and it's very Toyota, but in a good way. And I think anybody who's used to a Toyota product will get into that truck, feel right at home, except they're going to have so much more than what they've been used to in that segment in the past.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it and taking note of all those things, because, the first thing we do is we look at what do we do well and then what do we do poorly, and or what can we improve, I guess is maybe a better way to say it. We take that to heart. We're so fortunate to have the following that we have, and we think we owe it to our customers to make sure that we continue to deliver a great product. So fixing those little annoyances, raising the seat, the heel to hip, like we like to think about it, and making sure there's a little bit more headroom and making it more adjustable, vertical height adjustability, as well as, increased telescoping and movement of the steering wheel, just to really get that. You got to fit people of all different body types and shapes and sizes, and that was really a core tenet. Another core tenet of one of the things that we were going to fix. So drivability, the posture and position. Those are chief among them. Making sure that we kept garageability. All of those things were really important to the next generation, and making sure that we got it right.
From my early experience with it, I haven't driven everything yet, but my early experiences are incredibly positive. I think you guys did a fantastic job, and I can't wait to get behind the wheel. But hopefully this whets the or helped the appetite for everybody who's hungry for Tacoma content, listening to the show. And again, thank you so much for the time, because we know how busy you are, and we've been trying to get you back on for a while, and I'm glad we're able to make those stars align. Sheldon Brown, Chief Engineer of the Tacoma.
I want to talk to him for like 2 more hours, but we got to let him go. He's going to pass out.
Well, we have him back on.
Sheldon, I don't know how often you're in LA, but can we buy you a beer?
Hey, I'd love to. We'll have to make it. We'll have to make that happen. So we'll get. I don't get to LA too often, but I'm in San Diego quite a bit, because we typically go. We head into San Diego and we shoot down across the border to our Baja California plant there. So we're actually in the process of launching that plant right now. So
we'll make a drive for you.
Make it happen, fellas.
Awesome. Thank you for carving out so much time for us. We really appreciate it, Sheldon.
All right, gents.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheldon.
All right. Bye now.
Holman, I'm looking at a stack of paper over there. I can only imagine that it's news, truck news time.
Let's find out.
What's new in trucks? We need to know. What's new in trucks? We need to know. What's new in trucks? We need to know.
Lifted, lowered, and everything in between. What's happening in the world of trucks?
Solid.
That was good.
Solid. Yes.
I'm not gonna lie.
Digging it.
That was really, really good.
All right.
Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
No.
Nissan is announcing at the Chicago Auto Show that there will be a Forsberg edition package available for your Nissan Frontier. So if you'll remember, Chris Forsberg was the one who used to run in Formula Drift, but he teamed up with Nissan for that really cool Nismo Frontier that won the 2023 NORA 500 race. So apparently you're going to be able to get a dealer-installed Forsberg edition package for the Frontier that includes roof rack and light bar, rock sliders, Nismo lift kit and suspension components. So that's the Bilstein 5160s in the rear and like a 6112 in the front. 17-inch Axis speed locks on Yokohama Geolanders, a Nismo catback exhaust, Forsberg racing decals, and a Forsberg racing badge inside. It's going to be a limited edition bundle. Nissan hasn't said how many will be available, but it should be in dealerships toward the end of this year for any 22 and newer Frontier. Can you guess what that costs? Again, Lightning, that is 17-inch wheels.
Yep.
Looks like a 33-inch Geolander, catback exhaust, Nismo roof rack and light bar, rock sliders. It's a mild suspension lift. Looks like it's probably a couple inch.
So if I had to guess here, Nissan is pretty economical. So I'm going to say $7,000.
$9,999, which is a pretty good deal for all that equipment.
Yeah,
and it looks great too. Like it's to me, that's the way that truck should look.
Wait, hold on. Twist that a little more. That's good looking.
Yeah, it's great looking.
Well done. Okay.
To me, I hope it hints at
That's cool that you can get right off the dealer floor.
Oh, totally. And so Pro 4X kind of tops out on that Nissan Frontier line and lines up really nicely with the TRD off-road. This type of package could really elevate the Frontier to go head-to-head with Pro on the Tacoma side. I would love to see them doing it. I wonder if this is one of those things where Nissan is just kind of dabbling in to see what the response and take rate is, but that's the Frontier I'd want right there. Hey, lighting, did you hear?
No. I don't think so.
Lots of recalls in this news segment.
Are they Ram related?
No, GM recalled 323,000 heavy-duty pickups because the tailgates, the electronic tailgate release switch, well, it can short circuit and just randomly open your tailgate.
Oh, no.
Which is like more tailgate death on top of jacks, trailer jacks, and things like that.
Can I tell you that I have a phobia about that? I'm not joking. Regardless of what truck I drive, I have a phobia of the tailgate opening and all my stuff just ending up on the freeway.
That's a weird phobia.
And I have it all the time. In as much as I love my EGR roll track, but it prevents me from seeing if the tailgate's open or not because I got a tonneau cover on there.
But don't you have a tailgate open light on your dash?
Yes, but I don't trust it.
It literally is telling you. Do you trust your blinker?
That's what a phobia is.
Do you trust your headlight switches? Do you
No.
trust your navigation?
I actually don't trust my headlight switches.
Do you trust your
I have to look
blind
at the wall.
spot?
I got to
Oh
drive
my
against
God.
the wall to make sure they're on.
Who hurt you, Lightning?
You.
Well, that's possibly true. Anyway, GM says in documents there's 136 complaints. So that's not that many out of 3,000 pickup trucks. Apparently, GM's going to tell owners in the meantime, check that your tailgate is closed and latched before they drive off, and then dealers will give you a new exterior touchpad switch. Letters going out March 18th. So if you've got a GM heavy duty, keep your eyes open for that weird recall.
There's one dude in the accounting department that runs all the recalls.
Oh, hell no!
Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
No, I
Okay,
didn't hear.
speaking of recalls, this has to be the dumbest recall in the history of dumb recalls.
Can I guess?
Yeah, you probably already know.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Is it an amber the side marker
No.
are falling out of some vehicle?
No.
Oh, okay. It's certainly not the Ram grid heater issue, which,
No.
holy mackerel, we had 2 this week. Southern California trucks at Banks, both with failed grid heaters. See, I can show you a picture on my phone. And guys are like, how many videos and photos are you going to post of these things? I said, I can't possibly post all these, or you guys will think I'm making it up. There's so many. It's bonkers.
It's
It was
coming.
like, why isn't there a class action lawsuit? I said, because Ram is trying to dump Cummins and they're fighting. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But look at this thing. You see that stud right there? You
Oh,
see
yeah.
the nut?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not connected to the rest
No, it's
of the
it's-
grid heater.
That's not good.
And so when Robert, our installer, grabbed this nut right here, it flicked right off.
Yeah.
It was a day away from rolling into the...
I hope you showed that to the owner, and he probably gave you guys extra money.
So Tino, the owner, I did a little interview with him. He was kind of not really phased. He didn't really know how severe the issue was going to be, because why would he?
What does a new Cummins engine replacement go for?
20 grand.
Is it 20?
20 grand. Yep, exactly. And to fix this, they wanted $6,500.
Ugh. All right, so going back to this recall.
By the way, Monster Ram did it for $1,000.
2.2 million Tesla vehicles. 2.2 million Tesla vehicles. Going back all the way to 2012, which means for over a decade, they've all had this one problem, and just now it's become a deal. Is it political?
I don't know, but Jalopnik wrote a story that says officially all Teslas have been recalled.
Right, 2.2 million, 2012 to 2024, including the Cybertruck, because the dashboard warning lights aren't the right size font. Like, come on.
That's the graphics department at Tesla.
So apparently the recall states an incorrect font size is displayed on the instrument panel for the brake park and anti-lock brake system warning lights.
That's total.
As such, the vehicles fail to comply with the requirements of the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard number 105, hydraulic and electric brake systems, and 135 light vehicle brake systems.
Whoa!
Affects 2,193,869
Not right.
Teslas. I mean, do you not just sit there and go, come on, right?
Right.
Right. Anyway,
That's ridiculous. Now, wait a minute. You said, is it political?
Yeah.
Because all the news is coming out with that Elon Musk is forcing his employees to do drugs. Are you seeing those stories?
Oh my God, there's just a bunch of stupid stuff.
What's going on? How did the whole world love Elon Musk, and now that he's somewhat conservative,
Because
they hate him?
And
with
by the
a
way, he's
passion.
not a hardcore conservative at all.
No, he's not.
He's probably more moderate, like the majority of people.
Right.
I think
It
that
is amazing that Hollywood has turned against him.
He pissed off the cabal, and they're coming after him.
It's like now all the Hollywood elite, what are they gonna? They're gonna get rid of all their Teslas. What are they gonna buy? What electric vehicle are they gonna roll around in?
Get Porsche Taycans or something,
guess so.
something like that. Because I think what was the new one has like 900 horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 2.3.
Speaking of which, I'm going to turn the topic to something positive here for a second. We have to talk about solid state batteries. Porsche is using a solid state battery in these cars, and that's why the range is insane. But it doesn't seem to be getting a ton of press. There's only a couple of companies, one in particular, Quantum something.
Well, hold on.
So
before you start just espousing your half truths,
let's not go there.
Do some research.
I'm going to do some research.
All right.
I am going to do some research. I'm going to get an actual expert on the show because clearly I know nothing. I think it's fascinating. Porsche is using a battery that seems that nobody else is touching.
Hey, lighting. Did you hear?
I don't watch the news because I'm a kid.
No, I haven't.
In more weird Tesla Cybertruck news, if you've seen their wheels, they're actually a wheel cover that is stylized to go into the tire. And so this wheel cover covers the wheel for aero, and then it looks like the tires are part of the wheel, essentially. So it's the spokes like kind of touch the tire.
Yeah, they look like the logo from the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil.
Well, apparently those wheel covers are chafing the tires and rubbing into the sidewall.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
So
they can create autonomous driving where they can't come up with
an extra millimeter
with
of
a
clearance?
hubcap. They
Yeah.
can't decide to bring a hubcap.
So anyway, apparently as they flex when they're driving, it can and the sidewall flex can force contact, and who knows? Maybe
Are they popping tires?
Maybe it's nothing. No, not yet.
Oh.
I mean, I think they're just too new. But it's something that all you Cybertruck owners should keep your eye on because it could be an issue down the line. Who knows? Maybe a new recall. Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
No.
Remember we talked about Smith kit cars? That's SMYTH, and they were doing like Volkswagen Utes and things like that. And we talked about having them on a long time ago, and we never
I think
did.
I tried to forget them.
Oh, did you try and forget them?
Yes.
Well, check this out. They're now taking the 300C and turning it into a Ute pickup, as well as the Dodge Charger.
A Chrysler 300C?
Look how weird those things look. We should have them on because they're crazy people.
Wait a minute. I want to hate that, but I don't. Why don't I hate that?
I don't know, because the 300C lends itself well to a pickup.
It is. So the 300C was a wannabe Bentley, but that's lowered. It's wider, and it's like a modern-day El Camino.
Look.
Now, wait a minute. That Charger is not stupid looking. That's actually
cool.
okay. What?
Look at that thing. It's weird.
What?
I don't know. I kind of want to talk to them. It was on our list a long time ago.
I don't hate it.
And we didn't follow up. Or we did follow up and nothing came of it. And now they're out making noise again. And you're kind of going, like, this company does Beetles and Golfs and Jettas and even WJ Grand Cherokees. I mean, all sorts of. But it was odd, right? Because they're turning all these non-pickups into pickups. So we have to kind of be interested in that. Subaru Impreza, Audi A4. But the 300 is like, kind of works. To turn your Chrysler 300 into a pickup truck.
Yeah, can I guess?
Yeah, will cost you, what do you think?
$5,500.
So this is second generation only, so 2011 to 2020. $4,490.
I was close.
I would go okay, let me just put it this way.
It's a lot of work.
Let me just put it this way. If a relative died and had a 300, it was just an old 300, nothing special.
You do this.
I would do this.
Yeah.
To it, just so I could have a 300 pickup truck. I want to hate it, and I it's impossible to. I can't.
Let's talk to him.
Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
No. Nope.
Did you see the photos that were going viral online about the Super Duty that had a 24-foot trailer attached and then dropped down into about 22 feet of lake water as it broke through the ice?
No.
Oh,
no,
man,
no,
dude.
No, I don't think do I want to see this?
Oh, it's so sad.
I don't think I want to see this. What am I looking at here?
That's the tailgate of a Super Duty underwater.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Why was he on the lake? He's straight up and down. It's vertical.
I think he was out ice fishing.
And it just
which is super normal because people
just
tow their ice fishing
broke
shacks
right through and
right through and look at this guy in this TikTok video. He has a
was
fishing
fishing?
pole. I'm like, I don't think you're going to catch that fish. So what's interesting is I'm actually kind of more interested in the Ellis towing recovery and ice recovery. So these guys have like a jig that goes out on the ice and can pick sunken vehicles up out of it. And they posted it. Look at this thing.
How do they?
They rig it up.
Oh,
I'd love to
interesting.
talk to them and figure out like what's their business like.
That reminds me of a mechanism that holds the sea containers that pulls them off the big
Kind of like
ships.
but I don't know what. Anyway, I think this is one of those companies where we go, hey, we have a weird truck podcast, and we saw that you have a mechanism for saving. Well, probably not saving. Probably too far gone at that point. But pulling vehicles out of bodies of water on the ice. Kind of cool, right?
How long could that conversation go, though? I mean, yeah,
With
that's
us,
what we do.
4 or 5 episodes.
Sure, yes. Line it up. Make it so.
Hey, Lightning, did you hear?
I mean, no.
I know this episode was very Tacoma heavy, but apparently Toyota is patenting all sorts of weird things, and one of them is an air-filled pickup bed. So it's like a air bladder underneath a truck bed cover that can be used as a mattress, but also if you have your bed cover and this inflatable thing, it holds all your stuff from moving around.
Someone
so if
call
you're
inflated.
I deflated, right?
Oh, no.
So then your tailgate opens up and it keeps it all in there because it's all wedged in there. Do you think that inflated has to have the patent, right?
They need to.
But it says
They need to clap back.
we should get our buddy Ken Hovey on the line and be like, hey, Ken, like, what's up with this? I'll text him right now. I'll be like, dude, this looks like you all over it. Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
No.
This was one that you must have heard about because I got it from you, but apparently GM filed their own patent for batteries with built-in fire suppression.
Yes. I love patents.
So they filed this patent application. It's a brand new battery design that has this passive fire suppression system built into it. And they say that it was filed originally on June 6, 2022. And the patent application basically describes this battery design. So it's a housing that holds the batteries. There's a cell stack. And then there's what they're calling fire suppression material, while the battery cell stack has a plurality of, as they say, of battery cells with a non-aqueous electrolyte.
What is this material, I wonder, and how does it extinguish
or
prevent?
It goes on to say that the fire suppression material in the housing, once it's exposed to that non-aqueous electrolyte, it's then, I guess, absorbs or somehow retains that electrolyte within the interior of the battery housing, and then it either prevents or inhibits thermal runaway between adjacent cells. So that means anything to anyone who understands that. Go you.
That's a really important patent if everyone is forced to use it because the
Well, at some
government
point,
says so.
I think they will because you've seen all the Instagram reels and TikToks of runaway electric vehicles where the fire department's just sitting there going, we just got to let it burn to the earth.
Yeah. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
I don't think that it's quote unquote going to get worse. I think the awareness is going to get worse, right? I think there's been some videos out there where it shows a runaway thermal event and a flash fire inside some vehicles, and I think that's just coming out. So yeah, fire suppression seems like something that'll probably be mandated fairly quickly.
Yeah.
All right, Lightning, what do you say we read a few emails?
Nope. I'm going home. No, it's fine. Let's do it.
You email? Yeah. I email? Do it. We email? That's right. Everybody email. Type it up. You email? Proofread? I email?
Send it.
We email? Click it. Everybody
I was really jamming there. That was fun.
That was really
And you're the
weird.
one drinking the hard alky over there.
I'm doing fine. I'm just
Just,
relaxed.
high on life. Here we go. This one is called Short Form Show from Dan Church. It's got 2 emojis, 2 thumbs up. He actually does say, P.S., love it. Keep doing it, boys. Can't get enough of the content, Dan.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for listening to the short form shows.
Yeah, what do you guys think about the extra shows? Do you love it? Shoot us an email, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com.
I'm going to take your silence as a thank you, we love it.
Is that what you're going to do? I'd rather hear
Yes.
from people.
Yeah, I would.
Like our listener, Jason Foss, who says, possible show topic, off-road recovery. Hey, Lighting and Holman, I've been watching a lot of Matt's off-road recovery online. I was thinking it would be neat to have them on the show. Just a thought. 5 stars, and yeah, buddy. And that's thanks from Jason. He says his old truck was a 01 Ford F-250 7.3 4x4 Super Duty, and his new truck was new to him, but a 2018 Ram 6.4 2500 4x4 Tradesman. 5-star review! 5 stars!
Yeah, buddy.
We have asked Matt before, and
He said no. It's too small for me.
I feel like
I only do
that's
huge
not-
shows.
No, that's not what he said. It was as he was growing. It was probably several years ago, and he wasn't interested. I don't think.
He's not going to be any more interested
No,
now.
he might not be. I think he's kind of a shy guy who's kind of does his thing, and I don't think
Matt-
he's looking for a whole lot of press outside of just doing a show he loves.
Matt rolls through the SEMA show 7 people deep.
No, yeah.
He's got a crew.
We roll through the
Two
SEMA
deep.
show 7 hot dogs deep.
So, what does it say here? Frontier spotting from Scott Greiter. Saw this one heading down the 465 in Indianapolis this morning. If you're still sending out those stickers, my address is blah, blah, blah in Greenfield, Indiana. Thank you, Scott Greiter. And Scott, this is definitely a Nissan Frontier as photographed through your windshield. So thank you very much. And I am going to send you 2 stickers, Mr.
Ooh,
Scott.
wow, look at you, Mr. Generosity
I'm going
tonight.
to put this over here on my backpack.
First, it's bullets and whiskey glasses, and now it's 2 stickers for our audience.
I got you.
All right, got this one here from Jason Gaynor. Says, Lighting Holman, your automated show producer, Miles, sounds very similar to Bernie McPartland on Kibbe and Friends. I have a tough time determining if it was your auto guy or if he is actually real. Looks pretty real online. Just say it, and that's Jason Gaynor.
Hey guys, it's your producer Miles.
Hey, Miles.
I'm real. I'm real. I'm real.
Whoa,
I'm
whoa,
real.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm
Hey,
real.
flip that
I'm
lever.
real.
Lighting, flip that. Just make that. All right, moving on to the next email here from King Gladden. He says, finally landed in the present. Hey, what's up, Holy Light? No! Says, I'm all caught up on episodes. I've listened to every single episode, including the bonus SEMA episodes and Thursday Have You Heard shows. Well, this sucks. The shows or that you're caught up? He says, what am I supposed to listen to now? Guess it's back to audiobooks until Monday. Well, okay. Until then, 5 stars.
Congratulations, you have earned 5 stars.
Appreciate that, King.
I can hear you crumpling that on the air.
I crumple all of them, and so do you.
All right, this one's coming in from Todd Rusk. The title is 2024 Hoosier Truck Rally, and it appears to be, it's got a flyer attached to it, and yeah, sure enough, it's the Hoosier Truck Rally. It says, we're excited to announce the 3rd annual Hoosier Truck Rally presented by M&M Exhaust Systems. It's going to be held August 10th. 2024 at the Wagler Motorsports Park in Lyons, Indiana. So I will take this information and I will add this to the truckshowpodcast.com events calendar for everyone to enjoy.
All right, we thank you for your emails. Hit us up, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com.
You still had a bunch more room. You kept talking. No?
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
Lighting, we don't talk over the words.
No, that's called the post.
Well, I was doing your part, and then
You don't
it was
slam the
longer
post.
and
That's
all that
radio
stuff.
talk, right?
All right, listen, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com, Holman@truckshowpodcast.com, Lightning@truckshowpodcast.com. Don't forget to leave us a review on Spotify, on Apple. Lightning already told you. Send us your events. We want to figure out what you got going on so other Truck Show Podcast listeners can find you. And leave us a voicemail on the 5-star hotline. That's 657-205-6105.
And you know what's up? You guys have been getting mad with the sliding into Lightning's DMs at LBC Lightning. I think I've made about 10 deals in the last 2 weeks on Banks parts.
And we're wheeling and dealing, right?
We are not wheeling and
Crazy
dealing.
Gideon.
No, we have a very special discount code that only goes to TSP listeners. So if you slide into my DMs or send me an email, however you want to get to me, let me know. And I've got a very special one-time use discount code just for you guys.
So you're not stacking them deep and selling them cheap?
No, that's for Crazy Gideon.
All right.
Stacking them deep and selling them cheap.
No.
You ever grew up in L.A., you'll know.
There's a guy apparently on the East Coast that did the
Trying
same
to do the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was at the same time.
Oh, he was Gideon's like long lost cousin or something?
No, they were rivals or something.
Oh,
like
that's
there was
funny.
Gideon was on the West Coast, and there was a guy in Brooklyn doing
Sounds
the
like
same
the rap
thing.
wars.
And they were using the same terminology. He was like stacking them and selling them cheap. Like one was ripping off the other.
All right. Hey, before we move on, I want to mention for all you truck guys out there, which should be everybody listens to the show, I want to do a little solid for our friends over at RideTech. So if you go to ridetech.com/sweepstakes, you can enter a chance to win a RideTech performance lowering system for your current generation Ram, F-150, or Silverado Sierra. So all you have to do is sign up. You can, again, ridetech.com/sweepstakes, and rules and everything are on there. So I wanted to mention that for those guys. And if you want to
wait, stop right there. So this is just for the late model. This is not like what we have on Lockshaw, the old C20, like that.
So here's what I heard. I heard that if you don't have one of those trucks, there may be a gift card, so you can still partake. That's what I heard.
Because I got to say, the RideTech stuff,
pretty solid.
That's
Pretty
what Lockjaw's rolling.
Yeah. So anyway, wanted to mention that, and then
by the way, Lockjaw, it's running. It's not only running. Eric drove it another mile. It didn't destroy the rear end again.
Okay,
it's got lubrication in it now.
That tends to help. You never want to destroy your rear end from lack of lube, Lightning. So it's never a good thing. All right, you can hit us up on our socials at Truck Show Podcast. Also, shout out to Dave Graham, who has been killing it on our socials, at Sean P. Holman, at LBC Lightning. And guys, we would love to have some more Know Your Notes. So please, if you've got some cool engine sound or exhaust sound that you want us to guess, send them in with the title of Know Your Notes so we can figure out how many of those we have.
We are a mess when it comes to that.
We're a mess. We're a mess in general.
But it's fun. I got to be honest.
I think we've been pretty good so far.
I really enjoy it. My favorite one was the Toyota, a 22 RE.
Yeah,
I think, and we guessed it. We were dead on, and I think that was the only one we guessed.
No,
were there a couple others?
We've been doing way good. So
if
please
you have something,
challenge us.
I don't know that we want like tractors and stuff. It would be nice.
Yes.
Do we?
Yes.
We want tractors?
Absolutely.
I would rather have a car or a truck.
Whatever. If it runs and it's weird, because we may guess something totally wacky and then it's even wackier. Yeah.
Do you have an international harvester? Go for it.
If you have a Ford 9N, I want to hear it.
All right.
You know what a Ford 9N is?
A Ford 9N is a tractor, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
An old gray tractor with red wheels.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't your grandfather have one?
My uncle has one.
Oh, that's who it is.
Yep. Very cool. All right, guys. And one last thing for those of you who love off-roading and off-roading magazines, we're doing a discount code and promotion for OVR Mag. So head over to OVRmag.com, hit the subscription tab, and choose a free annual digital subscription or 10% off a print subscription that is delivered 6 times a year to your door. Use the discount code at Truck Show Podcast.
How are you guys going to make any money? That's you got your accountant is screwing up over there.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we're gonna try anyway.
That's not smart.
Hey guys, it's Miles, your producer here.
Hey.
Be sure to tune in this Thursday for the new episode featuring the Raptor guy that hucked his Raptor in that viral video.
Play the audio. Just play the audio. Yeah, that guy.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.